Bitcoin is printing some green candles. After some volatility over the last few weeks, we finally see a little bit of recovery here for Bitcoin. We're going to go into the charts, take a look at what is going on. Is this a decent recovery for Bitcoin, or is this just a bounce? Guys, as we get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, hit the like button. Really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then do go ahead and subscribe. Tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Right, with all that said, done, and out of the way, let's jump on down into the desktop and take a look at what's going on here with BTC. Okay guys, so we're going to start things off with the weekly chart. Okay, this is an important one because when we throw that 𝗕𝗓𝗪𝗓𝗪𝗓 channel on, we finally get to understand whether or not closing a weekly candle in the 𝗕𝗓𝗪𝗓 channel is a definitive move of a bear market or not. Okay, so the history is indicating to us that once you close inside this channel, it has led to a bear market. The last few times that this has actually happened, basically you've got that closed candle and then you started to pull right down into a bear market. This is the first time in history that we're actually able to take a look at this and actually see that we're heavily oversold at this point in time, and we're expecting a bounce to the upside and potentially even getting a few weeks candles closed outside of the 𝗕𝗓𝗪𝗓 channel. So therefore we could finally might be able to put a pin in this theory of the 𝗕𝗓𝗪𝗓 channel leading into a bear market, right? So one way or another, we're going to know definitively whether or not that is a sound kind of piece of analysis or not. So super excited to figure that out. But for now, we're going to take that 𝗕𝗓𝗪𝗓𝗓 channel off. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually take a look at what's going on here most recently. Like I said before, we're heavily oversold on our weekly chart, and therefore we should be expecting a bounce to the upside, right? So on this weekly chart, we'll have a look, right? We'll pull this down. We can see that there's a couple of areas that we are most likely going to be bouncing up towards. Okay, so let me grab hold of my arrow here. I'll just quickly show this to you guys. So the first thing to acknowledge is we're more than likely going to be aiming to get that bounce up towards the 618 area. This is actually 58,789 approximately, just in here. Okay, so that's your first target. Okay, that's where you most likely are going to bounce up to if it is a bounce. Okay, and this is because it's an area that resonates incredibly well, and basically you find yourselves with lots of traders actually actively trading that one particular level. From there, though, there are a couple of additional areas. Sometimes you might see ourselves actually moving out to the 702. The 702 again is an area that you might find yourself wicking up towards, a little bit higher than the 618, but not quite as high as the 786, and then you get a rejection from here, which is why we often say the 618 is your first point to kind of really start focusing in on. Then from here we will be paying attention to the final level, which is the 786. Now the 786, which comes in at $63,356 approximately, is going to be your area where you're going to be wanting to see what happens next, okay? Because it's very possible that you go higher than the 618, it's very possible that you go higher than the 702, and it is possible that you go higher than the 786, but you will not close above it if you are on a bounce, okay? So if you're looking for a bounce, first of all, you might get out at the 618, then you ride it to the 702, or you watch the candles go to the 702, go to the 786, and if you close above the 786, then you actually go ahead and you get back into the market and you ride it higher. Okay, basically locking in any potential risk or minimizing the potential risk. There's one strategy around it, right? For most people, they might actually just hold their way through, see the rejection come in here, then as it goes down, short it or whatever. Now, of course, that's one possibility, right? Expecting it to potentially fail at these areas. The other thing is you actually see that closed candle above that 786, and then you can see this thing absolutely riding to the upside in a really big way, okay? So this is the thing, right? We closed inside the 𝗕𝗓𝗪𝗓𝗓 channel last week, and now we are waiting for this bounce up to these areas, right? This is a key area of the 618 at 58K, and once that one has kind of come in, we'll know whether or not we are going to be pulling down from that point, or whether or not we are going to be pulling down from the 702, okay, or whether or not we actually get rejected from the 786, okay? So lots of different areas, lots of different things that go on. Each of these rejections would actually lead us into a lower low, okay? And again, this is something that you can see time and time again. I'm not going to draw them out on the chart, but go ahead, take a look at Bitcoin, take a look at pretty much any chart, and you'll see these rejections on the bounces, and basically they always lead to lower lows. most of the time anyway. Okay, now getting that closed candle above, however, that actually means that we are going to be moving on up nicely to the upside. Okay, now this is not going to be necessarily a smooth straight push to the upside. Okay, instead what you might find is that this is actually going to be a bit of a slower kind of gradual burn up here. This is the weekly chart, so do expect this to probably be playing out for this bounce towards the end of January, probably, if I'm being realistic about it. But we are seeing some positivity right now. Okay, we're barely even moving the needle, and we are, of course, printing a pretty decent green candle at this point in time. Okay, so we're making good progress, currently trading at 49k at the point of recording this video. Okay, so there we have an idea of what might actually go on here with BTC on our weekly chart. Let's actually jump it down into our daily, right? Because here we can see a little bit more of that detail, the bounce, looking for a close above that 63,000 area. Again, these are all approximates, and then obviously, what happens if you get rejected from these key levels. Okay, so I'm going to tidy this up a little bit. I don't need to have this on here twice, so I'll quickly go ahead and just remove these things because they're just a bit of noise. Now, there is the head and shoulder pattern here on the daily. Again, we are riding up nicely for the right hand shoulder. Are we going to see rejection at this point? And again, this could actually be much higher. It could be up here towards this area of about 53k, pretty much in line with the previous right hand shoulder. And then obviously what happens with when this right hand shoulder comes in is you get rejection from that neckline and you get pulled back down very significantly. I don't think this is something that's actually going to play out, but the pattern is here, so it's important that we acknowledge that it's here. Even if I don't believe it's going to play out, we should be aware that it is the head and shoulder pattern on this daily chart, and we are looking to complete that right hand shoulder and then ride it back down, break the neckline, and then obviously that would also lead us into a bearish scenario with the price going down. Okay, so we understand that a head and shoulder pattern like this is bearish, not bullish. Okay, and obviously we are looking to complete this shoulder at the moment. So there's a few days in this. Again, riding this up probably towards the end of the year, and if this pattern is to continue, then we'll see a downward trend after. With that being said, though, I think there's a higher probability that actually we're going to ride this up into this bouncing area and that we spoke about before, taking the shoulder much higher than what we would have expected. If we do get rejected from any of these key areas, the 618, the 702, the 786, then obviously that might actually complete the right hand shoulder and obviously then take us down much lower, completing the head and shoulder pattern. Okay, so lots of things to look out for. So the daily chart, not too much going on other than the fact that we are overbought on the daily chart. Again, that's something that we should be aware of, but we can be up here for quite some time if we need to. So again, aligning nicely towards the end of the year before that daily chart gets corrected. Of course, the bigger macro picture is heavily oversold, so I wouldn't be too surprised if we stay up here for a while. With that being said, let's actually take a look at the hourly chart. Now, the hourly chart is the one that shows us most of the recent moves that have been going on. As you can see, we've been heavily analyzing the kind of moves that have been going on with Bitcoin. And we actually had this impulsive move here. We can see that here. Now, we didn't actually, I guess you could argue we kind of completed a very sloppy head and shoulder pattern just in this point here. If I pull that down. And, it's an inverse head and shoulders. So basically, it was a bullish signal. Personally, not a great kind of indicator, in my opinion, of what's been going on. But it is there. I'll remove it for now. But the main thing that you want to note here is that we closed inside the Gaussian channel. We had the ABC turn impulsive, and we had this big shot to the upside. The ABC down, bringing us in towards our support level of 48k. And now we are actually tracking quite nicely with this next move to the upside. Now, there's lots of different ways that you can count this, okay? And considering our position on the stochastic RSI, we could either count this as a kind of, I guess, a bigger A wave, and we're waiting for that B wave in, or we can go ABC, ABC down, ABC up, and basically we are just tracking an ABC down, waiting for that next level. So I think for the most part, it's probably going to be easier if we actually count this as an A wave, and potentially now just waiting in for the B wave low. Okay, that'll come in somewhere down here, and then that'll lead into our C wave. Now, if we actually go ahead and measure the distance on our A wave right now, so we take that distance just there, what we'll look for is that probability area. As you can see, I've already marked up a good support level, and where our B wave is most likely actually going to last or stand. That's actually at 48,890 or so. So we're just going to pop that B wave right there. Assuming that we are already right at the bottom of our stochastic RSI. This actually gives us a target of about 50k on this C wave again. Wouldn't be too surprised if it turns impulsive considering the positioning of the weekly and of course this hourly. And I think we're going to stay overbought on the daily for a while yet. This actually turning impulsive could take us out towards those higher targets that we have set out already in terms of heading towards the 58k range for that 618 target on the Fibonacci level. So watch out for this one. It's looking pretty good at the moment, the B wave here. This should be an A, B, and C wave down. So yeah, we would be looking for this B wave to come down a little bit lower maybe. So we'll just watch that move steadily here before we continue that run to the upside with the C wave that will come in to follow. But ultimately what you're starting to see here is recovery of Bitcoin on the smaller time frame. This is a very impulsive move once it found this low area. No 42k or 40k range getting hit. Of course, we do have to watch out for the bounce and the rejection from a potential rejection from a 618, 702, 786 area on the bigger charts, which, considering our positioning on our stochastic, I don't think is likely to happen. So although this is recovery, appearance of recovery on the smaller time frames, we should be aware that it could actually be a bounce on the larger time frames, and we should keep that in our minds and not just FOMO into some green candles. Again, the alts are also green right now, and again they're just following this direction of Bitcoin. So again, if Bitcoin is on a bounce and gets a massive rejection, do expect those alts to get massive rejection too, and also follow that trend of Bitcoin. Now, there are going to be a few exceptions to the rule, but for the most part, you're going to start seeing a good kind of push to the upside with many of those altcoins, and a few of them are basically going to start to see a bit of a pullback if Bitcoin also has a rejection from those key levels. So right now, Bitcoin's looking very good, so do enjoy a little bit of green in the portfolio, but do keep in mind that we are recovery here. This isn't printing any new cash if we haven't been actively trading but hodling. Our portfolios are still technically down on where they were previously, but again, this is a good step in the right direction, and interesting after we saw that weekly close position inside the Gaussian channel as well. Heavily oversold on the weekly, looking for good kind of steady growth over the next few weeks on that weekly chart to see if we can get towards that zone of the bounce, the 618, the 702, the 786, around that 58k to 63k range. And once that happens, we should actually start to see whether or not the Gaussian channel theory has any legs or whatsoever. Guys, I'm going to leave the video there, but hopefully you have found this useful and informative. If you have, hit the like button, really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then do go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With this said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.